so in a lot of cases, you know, resource guarding starts with, especially the way you're describing it, where it's like this kind of like everything, space related, item related, stuff like that. It starts with just general, like we just don't have any control over him. You know what I mean? Like he's in this state of mind of like, obviously being insecure, right? Like that's where most of this is coming from. He's stressed out being in this new place, which is why he's like, Mom, like what the heck is going on, right? And the problem is if we're not in a position to give effective direction in those situations, what happens is they wind up one of two things, starting to see us as a part of the resource as well, which you can tell he's kind of established with you a little bit here, right? You're like the ultimate like sense of safety and comfort and stuff like that.
They're just going nuts right now. So again, same things, just kind of recapping through everything like that. I'm gonna kind of run through some of the commands, work some downstays, work that heel command again with him. And as we kind of pass Louis, I wanna see how he reacts with that command, right? Again, it's something, what I want you to look for is when we're doing this heel command, as we're walking him around, how he reacts to Louis, kind of passing Louis, right? So he's kind of our setup, he's kind of our distraction for right now. So if he cuts me off like he was for you, Mike, you know, if he's kind of cutting me off as we're walking, because he wants to go over to Louis or something, I'm telling him no, I'm giving that correction, and then I'm repeating that come command again, right? So as I'm walking by, you know, if it's also something where he kind of plants himself behind, I kind of keep walking by and he stops to go say hi to Louis or something. He's now left my bubble, so no, tap, and then repeat that command again, right? So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. Come. He's just doing great. He's just perfect, isn't he?
I think trainer might have some.
Yeah, well.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see he's doing good. He's even just kind of ignoring Louis right now. And again, I'm fine with him like observing him, right? I'm fine with him looking over and checking Louis out or whatever. But once he leaves that space, once he cuts me off or goes behind me to get to Louis, that's when I would give that correction, right? Good boy. Good. Okay. So now I'm going to have it be something where now Louis is going to be kind of in the downstay in the middle and do the same thing. Down. Good job. All right, Ben. Come on, Ben. So again, getting him in that heel position, loose leash with it, right? The less we can use the leash, the faster we're going to be able to get rid of it. Having Louis just kind of, again, use it as that distraction. Now, I have him in the middle, and I'm still going this way because as before with the bed, Ben, I was kind of in the middle of them, right? So I could kind of work through a little bit. Now it's a matter of he has a little bit more access to him, right? He's able to kind of go right to him if he wants to. Now, obviously, the second he kind of goes to change that path, and this is what I'm talking about with the squirrels and the deer and all that stuff, the second he kind of starts to turn off, you know, away from me, that's when I want to kind of make sure my eyes are on him so that way if he starts to kind of creep out of that space, I can give him that correction, right? And usually, you know, once we start building a little bit more trust with him, you know, we're able to kind of walk him a little bit better, then it's something where I can be a little bit looser with the criteria, right? But for right now, because the pulling is such a problem with you, or with him like originally, I want it to be something where he understands the criteria, he understands the rules, so that way, you know, we're not risking him pulling you down again or anything like that, right? So, again, going right into that thing, I haven't given him necessarily a down command, but I stop and he's kind of just taken upon himself to kind of stabilize, still staying in that space, right? Because he's still technically in a come command right now. I still haven't like released him, so I want it to be something where, you know, we're able to kind of keep him down in that position, right? And if it's something where he does kind of put himself in that down command, you can feel free to give him a down command even when he's already down. So right now, if I wanted to, he lays down on his own, he's technically can do, he can get up and kind of move around if he wants to. It's something where if I want him to stay down there, like say he lays down for a second and I need to go grab a glass of water or something like that, right? Or I forgot something in the house, so I need to go put him in down or something like that, right? He's in the backyard. It's something I can go just tell him down, and now I've started that command, so now that duration is implied, right? Now he's held to that criteria until I come back and I release him, right? So it should be something, yeah, so it should be something where I just tell him down, right? He's already doing it, so we're good. And then it's the matter of just building in duration, right? Now obviously he's doing really good right now, but if you see when you go home, again, going back to a place where he didn't have that structure before, it's very, it happens all the time where the dogs come back and they're like, all right, I got the heck out of there. Now I'm back at home and I can do what I want. Mom and dad don't know the rules and everything, so I can kind of push them around again, right? So it's something when you get home, make sure you have this remote in your hand. Make sure you have that collar on, and we're holding them right to that standard. So even when you get right out of that car, get him in that come command, right? Just like you practice doing these couple laps, get him in that come command so that he's not yanking you and pulling you right around the house, right? Do you feel confident in doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he shocks me all the time.
Okay. Well, that's between you two. Going outside, still hold to that criteria, still loose leash, right? Perfect.
Okay, he goes.
So now when we're letting him in and out of the door of the car, I want it to be controlled, right? So again, it's not just him jumping out and yanking you right when you get home.
No, he
right?
goes in on the command in.
Okay. So, in. Perfect. And then to come out, do you have another command for him as well? Okay. So I want it to just be something where I'm giving him that come command, right? So I'm starting off right away, he's going right into my space and he's staying right there, right? So again, it's not something where once he's allowed to come out, he's just gonna go and yank you right away, right? So it's gonna be something where when I'm ready, I'm just gonna ask him to come. Ben, come. Give him a second. Perfect, right? So it's a little bit more calm coming out, right? That's what I want to see him do. So we have a little bit more control of him at all times. Sound good?
Okay.
All right.
Was at like a 30, and then this second one I just did at 45.
So the other issue we were at, so I was trying to do bed at home.
Yeah.
And like, he doesn't want to go.
Okay.
And when I try to do like no, and then I do shock bed,
Sure.
he like runs away. Like it's almost like when I do the shock at home,
Yeah.
he thinks it's like a punishment, but like he doesn't act that way when we're here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is a punishment, but you mean he's trying to go hide?
Like scared. Yeah.
He's like running to like a safe space or whatever.
He goes into the bedroom and like is like scared to come out.
Will he behave differently if you do it with a leash on? Does he try to run if you have a leash on?
Still, I don't think he tries to run, but I still have to like pull him onto it.
Okay. So what I would do is typically if he's trying to like be avoidant and like run away from it, we have to kind of overcome that hurdle by just increasing our correction level until it's motivating enough that he does it anyways.
Okay.
Because what's going to happen is he's going to learn that like if I just keep running away, I don't have to do it.
I know, that's why. So yesterday I just stopped
Yeah.
trying because I was like, I don't really know. I don't want to
No.
mess it
Come.
up.
Yeah, so what I would do is put a leash on him, and you could use like, do you have a long line again? Where we've talked about this? Okay, get like a longer leash, put that on him, try working on it, and if he tries to dart away, I don't necessarily want your first instinct to be to use the leash. I still want you using the correction and the e-collar and stuff like that. But the leash is there just in case you like really get into like a debacle where you're like, I just need to make you do it.
Yeah.
And I want you to give just a little bit of leash help. I don't want you to have to drag him all the way there. It should be just enough to get him going, and then ideally he finishes it out the rest on his own. But you can alternate like a correction with a little bit of help, a correction with a little bit of help until you're successful. It's fine. Stay where you're at. Go further away, because the closer you are, the worse it's going to be. Right? We don't want to make it a big deal. We don't want him to see it and be like, look what I have, don't do it. You know, we want him to like just behave. So the e-collar is just our means of communicating accountability for right now, but it's not like the end all be all like threat, if that makes sense. So like when you put it on him, just be nonchalant about it, put it in your pocket, put it around your neck, whatever. And if he misbehaves, we're not gonna warn him by showing him. Right. We're just gonna say no, and we're gonna correct him at that point. But yeah, he didn't even bark at her when Paige came up. He said hello.
He's a doofus.
I've had a week of a spiritual experience.
Pretty much what
He said, this week I learned a lot of things. I had a couple come to Jesus moments. All right, so what I'll have you do is I'll have you bring him out and just keep him on the leash with you. And anytime he lunges, you're just gonna give a correction if he does.
Say no.
Yep, say no and then just correct him. And you see how, so this is I wanna point this out, how when Paige kind of stepped forward, how when he saw her, he just kind of looked away. Yeah. And he kind of turned over there. So what the stage that we're entering now is he has clearly learned that reacting and being explosive is not an option, right? And so we're seeing the true emotion behind the reactivity come out, which is just fear, right? He's saying, I am very uncomfortable by that, and instead of reacting and being really mean and scary to get you away from me, I just am gonna pretend like you're not even there. Right? And that's a really good progression, right? We want him learning that like the reactivity is never an option. And obviously I don't want him to stay in a state where he's still scared of people, but eventually this is going to lead us to rebuilding kind of his emotional response of, I don't have to be scared of people. Right? And that's where we're going to be able to do most of our work now. But first, initially, before we could do any of that, we had to just stop that reactivity, because that was just absurd. So this week, anytime you want to get him into like a sit position, I'm going to have you guys just do it with your prong for right now. Don't even worry about saying the word. You're just going to pull straight up like that, and as soon as his butt hits the ground, you'll just release the pressure. The only reason why I want to use the leash initially is because I want to have the ability to physically reinforce it if he ignored us, right? And if we're using a hand signal or even a verbal cue at the beginning, if he doesn't listen to us, then we're kind of out of luck. Oh, look at that.
Because he knows.
He's doing great. Well, that's what we want. And here's what it ultimately comes down to. We're not going to change who the dog is, right? So depending on the dog, like he may still have the desire when he sees stuff like that to be like, oh, but the whole purpose of training is teaching him how to suppress and inhibit that behavior, right? And to know that I am not allowed to react that way, or else there's going to be consequences. Like I have a dog who doesn't like people, doesn't like new dogs, but that doesn't mean that he walks around like an entire menace to society, right? It's just I've trained him to the point where he sees new people and dogs and he's like, not my problem. Right? Even though he wants it to be his problem, he knows that's not allowed to be your problem. Okay? It's none of your business. I haven't changed who he is though.
Like suicide with a dog. I don't think that's
And we'll see what happens. happens. You know, maybe we can get him to a point that he can't. Like my dog can socialize with dogs that I've taken the proper steps to introduce him to and get him comfortable with, right? And he can also accept people into his circle that are new if I introduce him properly or take the right steps, right? Like when I first started working here with him, I had to go through all of that with the new staff here of getting him used to them and everything, and now he loves you guys. And eventually, I've of course will go ahead and reinforce. Good. We'll handle him again eventually, but I want to get to where he's comfortable with the muzzle. So that's one last stressor that, you know, we don't have to worry about. And, you know, that he's in a healthier spot to do it. The main reason I did it last week was because I really wanted to see like what he was really about, you know, how motivated and how committed he was behind his reactivity, which pretty committed. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's kind of what we need to figure out, and that helps us shape of how we're going to work with him, what procedures we're going to put in place for introductions, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So.
Okay, well, so regardless, so she's in a new home, right? So she's with people that maybe she knows a little bit, but doesn't have a strong relationship with as far as knowing the routines and stuff, right? So usually dogs will go through maturity around like, say, like a year to a year and a half. And that's usually where you'll start seeing them get a lot more pushy towards other dogs or other people or things like that, right? So even though she spent some time with them and it went well in the past, obviously she's grown now, right? She's a little bit older at this point. And yeah, I mean, again, I don't know anything as far as what their routines are, but you guys obviously know your dogs and know the routines that they need and they thrive in and stuff, where, you know, that change again can definitely throw dogs off with things for sure. So the fact that you haven't seen a lot of these behaviors in your house is very positive. Obviously that leads me to believe that you know, obviously she's just not adjusting to that transition there that well, because, you know, the routines are different, right? So obviously we need to establish some training, we need to establish some communication, so that if you do need to leave her again in the future or something like that, that you have something really clear we can give this person as far as, hey, this is how to do this, right? This is how she needs to be fed, this is et cetera, right? We'll see a lot of cases very similar to yours where people are having issues with the dog, right? That's getting aggressive or whatever with like a house sitter or a boarding facility or a daycare kennel or something like that. And the one thing that I find myself kind of explaining to people a lot is, unfortunately, you know, training is very relationship based, meaning, right, like when she has a relationship with you, she knows what she can get away with and what she can't get away with you, right? But with everybody else, it doesn't just generalize. Training's not this thing you kind of like put on the dog and then you put her in a new environment and then because she's trained, she's behaved, right? That person has to develop that same relationship with the dog to get the dog to listen in the same way that they listen to you with them. She just loves belly rubs. Oh, she just loves belly rubs. Hello.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Amazing.
Who we got here?
This is Bronte.
Nice. What's going on with him?
11:30.
That's all right. What's going on with this dude?
She
Or her? Girl.
isn't really that bad. She's just, see how she just kind of lunges towards people?
Yeah.
She hasn't hurt anybody yet, but that's kind of why we're looking at you to help us with that.
Definitely.
But I think what you're going to find out is when she gets to know you, she's going to be real easy to walk. She's going to, a lot easier than what my wife said.
Yeah.
My wife shouldn't have been walking because she does have a little bit more strength than. Calm
Yeah.
down. Calm down. Sit. Sit. Come on, sit. Good girl. That's my girl. That's my girl. Yeah, you calm down. Hey, look what I brought you. Look, yes, I brought you something good.
All right.
Good girl.
How long have you had her for?
2 years, a little over 2 years.
2 years. And how old is she now?
2.
She's about 2. So you got her when she was a puppy.
She was actually, they released her from at like 10 weeks.
Yep.
I mean, it was actually earlier than they should have, but she was already weaned and everything else.
Sure. Okay. And over the 2 years, so have you had her around very many other dogs?
Only dog she's been around is we have a mix at home, German Shepherd, Pit Bull, Mutt. And we also have, you have Zara here. That's, I mean, they're tight.
They're buds.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then there's a May who's a border collie.
Yep.
They all play, you know, we have our puppy pool parties and just have a blast.
Sure. Sure.
So I don't think she ever wants to hurt anybody attention.
Yeah.
She just wants to play
Yeah.
a lot. Calm down.
So she's been around those 3 or 4 dogs. Is that about it?
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, and like if we walk her, she sees a dog, she's barking at it.
Oh, yeah.
She wants to get over to it.
Yeah, for sure. And what about with people? How is she with like guests that come in the house, stuff like
Jumps
that?
on them, but she doesn't do it for long. She's
Yeah.
gotten better. I think once we started kind of preparing her for this,
Sure, sure.
she's gotten better. She's kind of gone.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I gotcha. And she's never bitten anybody or anything?
Just the other dog.
Okay.
And
She
it was-
bit the other dog, you said?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that was because it was kind of egging her on,
Yeah.
and she went for the ear. She didn't try really hurting her,
Yeah.
but she split both ears at 2 different times because,
Yeah.
hey, that's not nice. Stop that. But I mean, if you'll see with Zara, they
Yeah.
it'll probably be how most of the other dogs.
Yeah. And like I said, she's never bitten any people or anything like that?
Gosh, no.
Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna kind of walk up and down here together. I just want to get her used to walking with me, and then whenever I tell you to, I'll have you hand me the leash, and we'll kind of see
you
what we
want
get.
to walk alongside
So
you?
yeah, I'll have you walk alongside me here for a minute.
Come on. You like the camera. Come on.
She's like, I don't like that camera.
Come on. Pay attention.
She said, no, thank you.
Yeah. Now I got the food and all the other stuff in the car.
Yeah, we'll get that all out in a little bit here.
That's calm down. That's my girl.
All right, let's go ahead and turn around. Walk back this way.
Come on. Calm down. Hey, quit pulling. That's it, girl. Calm down. Slow down. That's my girl.
So you can keep holding it with your left hand, but I'll take this end,
Okay.
and you can go ahead and let go.
Walk with you.
Yeah.
I'm right here. Relax. I'm right. Yeah. She's, I don't know, she didn't show it out there, but she's very, very loving. I mean,
Yeah.
she loves her belly rubs.
So, all right. Well, we'll keep you posted on the process. If you guys have any questions about anything, just give us a call, obviously. I'll give you my card here. My cell phone number, email address, all that is on there. So if you just want to check in or anything, just shoot me a call. We'll kind of go from there.
Appreciate it.
Do you have any questions for me about anything?
Not at this time.
Tell she's stressed. She's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So, all right. Good to meet you.
All right.
We'll talk to you soon here. So what's going on with Mr. Teddy?
Teddy likes to bite people.
Uh-oh.
Loves
Teddy.
biting. Yeah.
What situations is he doing it again?
It's all resource guarding.
Resources.
Yeah.
All right.
So for like things like resource guarding, like how
Yeah.
do you, like, so what do you do?
What is this
Go up
move?
there.
Like what do you do to like train people
Yeah.
for that?
What? Remind me again on what some of the situations you've had with the resource guarding are.
Yeah, go ahead.
Usually it's like when he's with her, like if I'm around her, like he'll like start growling at me, or if like he's like in the car, if I walk up to the window, he'll like growl, look around other people. He bit me once.
What was the situation that he bit you in?
Basically, like she was like standing there. I like came up behind him, like pick him up.
Okay.
And he just like lashed on my thumb, like right here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And like he'll just take everything to his crate or underneath the bed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's like, or if we're just like sitting on the couch with our feet up and we put him down near him, he'll bite our feet.
Yeah.
He like can't sleep in bed anymore because he bites our feet.
Yes. Okay.
Usually like take like shoes. Like if he sees like your shoe, he'll take it.
Miscellaneous stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll take her into bed and it's now his.
Of like no value. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they develop this like perceived value of like a random
He
thing,
will die
you
for
know?
that shoe now.
Yeah. Well, so in a lot of cases, you know, resource guarding starts with, especially the way you're describing it, where it's like this kind of like everything, space related, item related, stuff like that. It starts with just general, like we just don't have any control over him. You know what I mean? Like he's in this state of mind of like, obviously being insecure, right? Like that's where most of this is coming from. He's stressed out being in this new place, which is why he's like, Mom, like what the heck is going on, right? And the problem is if we're not in a position to give effective direction in those situations, what happens is they wind up one of two things, starting to see us as a part of the resource as well, which you can tell he's kind of established with you a little bit here, right? You're like the ultimate like sense of safety and comfort and stuff like that. Or two, right, they're gonna essentially just get that behavior kind of coddled and reinforced by us, right? So we start by getting the dog under control, right? Making sure we have a clear communication system established to be able to let him know yes and no, to be able to communicate direction. Like we come into a new place, let's say he's stressed out by her walking up the stairs over there, right? We could start to focus him in on, hey, don't worry about that, focus on this right now, or don't worry about that, focus on this right now, right? As far as the actual resources are concerned, you know, the root of the problem, I just made a post about this the other day, is not that like if we go to take this thing out of his mouth, he tries to bite us. The problem is that why do we need to physically go and remove this thing in the first place? Like why can't we just get him to release those objects for us, et cetera, right? So all of that stuff kind of comes together to one, adjust the relationship that we have with him. So instead of him seeing us as a resource and just that ultimate sense of like safety and security, that's his, he starts to see us as somebody that's giving him direction, right? And coaching him through things and stuff like that. And then obviously the command related stuff of like when he gets these resources, how do we, one, stop him from taking those things in the first place, two, make sure we have a way of getting him to release those types of things, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of a combination of a lot of different pieces that go together to work through it. So yeah, and you know, especially with the little guys, I find all the time, we see dogs like his size that get behaviors like this very frequently because they're so easy to like manage, right?
Yeah.
Starts doing something bad, scoop him up, right? Take him away. He gets stressed out by something out on the walk. We can pick him up. It's okay, right? So we don't really ever put them in a position where they could truly like be a dog, right? And communicate with them like you would a dog, right? So that's another big part of the issue that we see as well. So a lot of those types of things.
Hopefully he just like shows you who he really is as a dog. So we can like.
Yeah. Now, one thing I remind everybody is we don't necessarily need to see it, right? Like a lot of people, same deal. They'll call us and be like, "Has he tried to bite you guys? Has he guarded things?" We tell them no. They're like, "Ah, crap! Like, how are we going to work through it?" Again, it's a positive because we're going to be essentially developing this new communication with him. We're going to be developing these new routines and structure with him. Where if we're doing our job properly, we shouldn't see that in the first place. From there, we'll take all the things we did and show you then how to re-replicate those things once he goes home to combat those problems, right? So we may see some of it, you know, but if we don't, it's in the end of the day, we don't need to see it in order to work through it.
Okay.
Like to be. Normally it's just scoops.
Theo, what's up, buddy? You look like one of our more well-behaved boarding trains getting dropped off so far. What's going on with Theo?
So he really just has, I take him to Taps and Tails for daycare, and he was restricted in his time at daycare because he's not aggressive or anything like that, but he has just an obsession with objects, and it's very disruptive for the people at daycare.
When you say an obsession with objects, what do you mean by that?
So rocks are his biggest thing.
So just like actually picking things up like that?
Picking things up, and everything's a game to him. If they pick up like a water dish, he then thinks the water dish is a toy.
I gotcha.
That kind of thing, and really just doesn't listen. But that's kind of my fault. He hasn't gotten the training he deserves.
How old is he?
He's 11 months. He turns 1 on the 25th.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
But yeah, he really. I think it was. I don't think it was necessarily like as bad as they painted the picture.
Yeah,
but
just more of a nuisance and disruptive and stuff.
And, he really just needs like kind of basic obedience training.
Yeah, for sure.
Sit, stay, heel.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But he's a great dog. He's a sweetheart.
Does he, when he gets those objects, you mentioned like rocks and stuff like that, is he trying to like eat them? Do you know? Does he try to ingest them?
No, he's just playing with them. It's all a game to him.
Okay.
And like it's a real obsession. Like he has, every time I walk him, he'll find a rock.
Something on the ground.
Something on the ground, and the walk is over at that point.
Yeah.
His mind is now on the rock.
Yeah, for sure.
And I usually just cave and let him carry the rock around.
Yeah.
And then he'll take it up to my apartment and like bury it in the couch, and then like dig into the couch.
Yeah, for sure.
So really just kind of basic obedience training. Is what Theo needs.
All right. And you said with other dogs, he's pretty good with other dogs,
Yeah,
pretty good with other people, stuff like that.
Great with people. He's been starting to bark on the leash at other dogs lately, but that's a recent development.
Okay. Yeah, and a lot of that is just the build up from the frustration and stuff. You know, if he's pulling and trying to get to things and stuff like that, over time, that makes the dog more and more and more frustrated, obviously, which starts displaying itself in the barking and, you know, more pulling and stuff like that. So that makes sense. Perfect. You could set the food down right there.
And yeah, he does. As you can see, he does have some anxiety issues.
Yep.
The longer he's here, the better. He'll just be better trained. If you see him and you're able to train him, and you don't think it would take the
shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because you know, if anything, if a dog is moving through the program like more expedited than others, that just gives us more time to prove things. Because if you really look at it, like 4 weeks, it's such a short period of time for the dog. Obviously, it's a long time to be away from them, but it's a very short time to learn all these new things.
Yeah,
So you know, even the dogs that move through things perfectly, like at the end of those 4 weeks, they're good, obviously, but like they still got work to do once they go home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just to start.
It just allows us to prep them better for once they go home. Then at that point, so.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, bud. I'm coming back. I promise.
He doesn't even care. He's like, send me in there with those dogs.
All right, so
cool.
I'll leave this here.
Yeah. All right, man. It was great meeting you. Like I said, if you need anything at all, just reach out, and I'll keep you posted.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Bye, bud. I love you.